Very methodical in how I talk. It needs to be a little slow. I will speed up if I have to. So recently I was reading about a lot of these Mount Everest, excursions, and they're very treacherous. And frankly, I don't care to set foot on a mountain, let alone be on the same continent as a thing. I have to read about how you pass up people, who are like crying out for help, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to go there. But really, what I got from these excursions is that this climbing team has what we call Sherpas, or people who are there to help guide. They know the mountain. They understand the conditions. What are some of the supplies that you need? What are the things that are going to bring about success? You're there to help the climbers. The thing is that when you're scaling the mountain and you have these people helping you, you find out that if you don't have the right Sherpa who knows what they need to know, that you're going to find yourself in a position of imminent danger. But much in the same way, organizations like ASK are scaling their own Mount Everests. And the thing is that a lot of these organizations don't have Sherpas, or rather the people who are going to help them scale these challenges, be able to see around the corners, and understand what it is that is needed. So in the case of that's the mountain that they are trying to scale. And the thing is that ASK needs the infrastructure and the supports to expose students to STEM early and inoculate them with positive STEM. I may switch between the two from time to time, but inoculate them with these positive STEM experiences. What I'm here to talk about today is that this climbing team that's trying to surmount or summit the mountain of early STEM engagement needs business and community partners to play the role of Sherpas. Now the question is, why would business and industry even be remotely interested in helping a community organization? Well, organizations like ASK are meeting societal needs, right? They are trying to develop, in this case, early STEM engagement. Now businesses tend to have business goals, right? Looking out for their long-term growth and sense of competitiveness. Where the two meet in the middle is a concept known as shared values. And this is where organizations support ASK to engage early on STEM, such that we build the future pipeline, which will then ensure that businesses have that long-term competitiveness and scientific advancement, as well as our scientific foothold is ensured for the future. So if we have early engagement in STEM driving the future pipeline, then that means that early engagement with underrepresented groups will drive a more diverse pipeline, right? But why do we even need diversity in our workforce? There are some key reasons, at least two that I'm going to name you. One is that diversity is key to long-term economic growth as well as global competitiveness. And what I mean by that is that the majority of people who are being born are non-white and female, or both, right? And if we are not diversifying our workforce, or we're not reaching out to early engage with these individuals, we are missing a significant portion, potentially the majority, of the talent pool that can actually be involved in enriching STEM activities. The U.S., frankly, cannot keep its scientific or technological edge, assuming you believe we actually still have it, without capturing this talent pool. The other thing is that diversity is critical to excellence. And what I mean by that is that the diversity of the problem solvers is far more important than the diversity than the individual merits of a particular person. In STEM, we tend to treat accomplishments and products and inventions as though they are the manifestation of a single person or a select few who were brilliant enough to come up with it. But the truth is, most products, most innovations, most inventions, most advancement, most progress comes as a result of people working together in teams. in committees, in groups, and in organizations. So diversity is paramount if we want to provide the solutions that are actually going to improve the world. And in providing those unique solutions, that's how businesses earn their revenue and hopefully make the world a better place in the process. But the thing is that if those teams, those groups, those individuals, if those masses of people do not represent the interests of everyone, how can we possibly make the world a better place for everyone? So businesses, in order for them to remain competitive, we need to increase the diversity of the people coming in to the STEM workforce. But the challenge here is that communities are underprepared to meet industry needs for diversity. And that's where organizations like ASK are critical. So in talking about early engagement and the impact of early engagement, it's imperative. We have to engage early. I was on a panel of Intel STEM professionals at the recent Leadership Summit, and everyone who was on that panel talked about some level of early engagement or early influence or something of an early interest in STEM. And when we were sitting up there on that panel, it became apparent that when we were talking to the youth at the Leadership Summit, that they were receiving that positive inoculation of STEM, learning from a professional, from us. It was also apparent that we were the products of that inoculation. So engaging early, especially if we're all saying, hey, I love tinkering as a kid. My mom and dad bought me a science kit, a chemistry kit, or some sort of thing such as maybe teen flight. Whatever it is, early engagement put us on the trajectory to pursue a career in science. Now, some of you may have heard the story. You have, sorry. If you haven't, hopefully this is a treat for you. But my dad, as Jackie mentioned, was in the Air Force. So when I was a kid, I was interested in so many things: comic books, cartoons, video games. I used to love Transformer robots. But the thing that my dad really drove into me was this interest in aerospace. And it came from not only the space shuttle, as mentioned in my bio, but also from this other vehicle called the SR-71 Blackbird, of which there is one in the Evergreen Aerospace Museum. And my dad used to always tell me these stories. He would say, you know, Corey, when it lands, it's 7 inches longer than it was when it took off because of the thermal expansion of the skin of the plane, right? Or I would say, how fast does it go, Dad? He would say, it's classified. It wasn't really that big of a deal. For a 5-year-old kid, that's pretty awesome. Oh, wow, that's awesome, right? And, you know, other things like it would take at max speed like 3 stages to make a turn, or something of that nature. And it just increased my wonderment. So between being an Air Force brat and hearing things about aerospace, and living around the space shuttle as well when we were stationed in Florida, I was constantly inoculated with science. And I had no shortage of opportunities to ask questions and get answers, or a half answer. But the thing is that I was constantly inoculated. And the thing is, that's what this early engagement is all about. So companies need to get engaged with these kids, expose them to the products, the services, the infrastructure, via in-kind donations, volunteers, programs, sponsored events. That way the kids can see themselves in STEM fields. Then if they can see themselves in STEM fields and associate with STEM, then not only are they no more likely to pursue a STEM path for a career, but then they're also more likely to be able to weather adversity when it hits them in the pursuit of their STEM career. Now, another thing that we talk about is continuity. And I can't remember if Jackie maybe touched on it already, some of the segments of Team Flight, but you know, most programs don't have a continuous program of learning when it comes to STEM. Most of the time it's a one-off engagement. But the thing is that if you can nurture this interest in STEM, you can assuage a lot of these fears early on and get these kids more tuned in and dialed into being interested in STEM. Students, especially underrepresented minorities, don't grow up with a very healthy sense of failure when it comes to STEM. We often just want the answers. I'm not sure if it's my generation that started it, but we just want the answer, then we back out somehow, you know, how we get the method for doing it, and then if we're learning the method, we adapt, and then we'll just know how to do it from here on out. Thank you, give me my A, moving along. Or C if that's what you're accepting. Right? But the thing is that when you have to conform to something that way because you're afraid of failing, you wind up having a much tougher road to understanding STEM. It seems a lot less approachable. So what we need to do is allow these kids to develop a sense of confidence and mastery in STEM by letting them know it's okay to experiment, to fail, to see what happens if I do X. What's the result Y? Is that result Y good? Yes, no? Okay, well, I've learned from it. Let me move on, try the next method, right? Things that we can build in these positive STEM experiences and have the reinforcement that we need. We can have more constructive learning and critical thinking skills being developed in our kids that will minimize their fear and increase their sense of wonderment. And here's where companies, again, become very vital. Because companies provide a lot of the infrastructure and support that will enable these positive STEM experiences. So, for example, ASK has implemented a development trajectory. And in this development trajectory, it's designed to engage at the elementary level. And this builds this continuity of learning. And through this continuity of learning, you have an increased retention of students being within a program and being able to build upon things as they go along. And when you build this curriculum, now you've got students be able to pass on knowledge from one student to the next, but also build a sense of career, build a sense of how things are integrated. But this program does not happen in isolation. This program happens with the partnership with other companies, with other community partners. For example, Hillsborough Aviation, providing the helicopter rides, the tours, the professionals in the field. Pixel Arts, gaming technology exposure and opportunities. Vans Aircraft, providing the airplane kit support, employee mentors, facility tours. And finally, the Portland Teachers Program, who are the future educators from the communities who serve ASK elementary instructors. We have to do a lot more than get these kids to college, which I think a lot of these programs are focused on. We need to get them thinking about their career. And in doing so, we'll be able to get them to a point where these kids won't arrive alone so much. Because the thing is that often you go through STEM and only a select few make it. And then you're left wondering, what happened to my friend? What happened to that person I went through several classes with, through high school with? How come they didn't make it to this STEM career field I did? So, $1 million question, how can you all as companies or community partners actually help, right? So what can you guys do? One, career exposure. Have real STEM professionals actually talk to these students. If you were bad at math, tell me you're bad at math, but you somehow made it. That story makes you a lot more relatable, makes STEM a lot more relatable. Also, it ensures that these students realize that STEM is not something you're born into. It's something you grow into. Also, the black box. So we talk about the black box being your company or your business or your community organization, but basically, what is it that you do? Some kid is learning math on the abstract whiteboard, right? And they have no idea how Intel, for example, takes that math, that science, and turns it into a processor that goes into your laptop. The more you open your doors, the more you help them see how STEM really matters, and it makes it more relatable. And finally, companies can help organizations like ASK build the infrastructure, help them shape the technical and social needs that these programs are putting together. So when ASK goes to put together a curriculum starting at the elementary level, companies need to be involved so that ASK knows the right things for the coming years, for industry needs, to start teaching these kids now. Why did I get involved in ASK? Well, one, I'm excited by what our executive director is doing. She is trying to establish many partnerships. For example, drone building, partnership with MIT and NASA through the Zero Robotics program, in-flight partnership with Jefferson High School, and I'm really just excited by someone who's trying to drive change and build an infrastructure. Not do something as a one-off, but build an infrastructure that ensures a pipeline. Also, I believe ASK is uniquely positioned to teach STEM from the standpoint of integration. What do I mean by that? STEM is not science, technology, engineering, math, biology, statistics, wherever you want to say it. STEM is a collective field in which everything is related. Team Flight, for example, teaches kids the principles of engineering design, manufacturing, aeronautics, and also they get to learn how to fly at the same time, right? So you're getting a cross-train, and also I believe there's coding involved somewhere in there too. So there's a cross-function integration of STEM subjects. The challenge that I accept, though, is that STEM continuity and early engagement cannot remain an intent. It has to become a standard. And we can't realize this unless there's an effective partnership between companies and organizations like ASK. So in conclusion, I know, Stephanie, you're like, oh my God, Corey, you're still talking. I'm sorry, I'm just passionate right now. Early engagement with underrepresented youth will drive diversity in our workforce. The thing is that diversity furthers exchanging ideas, and diverse groups more effectively identify unique challenges. They develop the unique solutions and problems that are otherwise unseen or go unaddressed. Providing those unique solutions is how long-term competitiveness in academia and industry will be ensured. However, without effective partnership with business and community, we cannot drive STEM. We cannot drive diversity in STEM, excuse me. But through working together, we can target early engagement and increase the number of students entering STEM careers. Also, we can also increase the exposure students need to have positive STEM experiences. Airway Science staffers, business and community partners, let's build this team that's going to summit the mountain before us. The challenge of enabling our underrepresented youth to see themselves in STEM early and often. Give them the relevance that they need to see how the abstract principles in the classroom will lead to tangible, everyday innovations, and how they will be the ones developing. Thank you.